Hello everyone and welcome to Discovering Libertyville. My name is David Wool and I aim to give you a behind-the-scenes look at the businesses and organizations that shape our community and share the inspiring stories of the people who run them. Each episode we'll sit down with a new guest and unveil their background, their experiences, and passions that drive them. Along the way we'll explore the unique challenges and rewards of running a business or an organization in Libertyville and share some laughs and insights into the people behind them. Whether you're a lifetime resident of Libertyville or just curious about our town and the people that call it home, Discovering Libertyville is the perfect podcast for you. So thank you for joining us today and enjoy the show. My Charcuterie has the perfect boards, boxes, and grazing tables for any occasion. Get-togethers and parties of all sizes will be so much tastier when you bring their delicious charcuterie designs to the table. Their team uses only the very best ingredients to ensure creations that are always curated with the highest quality meats, cheeses, and produce. Imagine hosting a holiday celebration, corporate event, or dream wedding where everyone is blown away by the striking beauty and vibrant taste of the food. That's why they call it food artistry. For your next special event, visit My Charcuterie, located at 214 Peterson Road in Libertyville. Jan Leisure, Diamond Residential Mortgage, has been financing Libertyville homes from the same office at 533 North Milwaukee Avenue since 1999. You may also know Jan as a former teacher, or as a college instructor, or as a journalist, contributing editor to Mortgage Broker Magazine, Mortgage Originator Magazine, or the money-saving super saver who walked into supermarkets with a fistful of coupons and walked out with $400 worth of groceries, and the stores paid her, or as your mortgage banker. Jan brings all of these skills to bring your transaction to the closing table on time. Jan has commitment, determination, integrity, and a positive attitude to make your home finance experience a great one. Jan Leisure, Diamond Residential Mortgage. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Discovering Libertyville. So the gentleman sitting in front of me, I've gotten about, 10, 12 different people that says, you got to talk to this guy. So his friends call him Jim. So this is Jimmy Connell. Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, Dave.
It's so nice to have you here. We did not sit here and talk for an hour before we started, by the way. So everything in Libertyville, it seems like everybody says I have to talk to you because apparently you're the man, they say.
Okay. All right. Not sure about that, but
so first of all, you are a Libertyville trustee.
I am. Yes, I was appointed by the mayor after she ran for mayor. She ran unopposed and obviously was elected. And her seat, because she was a trustee prior to that, she was at the 2-year mark of a 4-year term. So she was allowed as the mayor to appoint her successor. She called me, invited me to sit down with her, and I did so, and she chose me. And then once that 2-year term was up, I ran for a 4-year term, which I was fortunate to get elected, and so I'm serving out one 4-year term now.
Wow, that's awesome. What made you want to be a trustee?
Well, I think it was really the invitation, Dave.
Yeah.
I did run for school board, and what I didn't know at the beginning of that whole process, prior to her appointing me, I ran for school board, and there were about 10 people who ran. So it was kind of crazy times.
Yeah. And
I stuck it out, and, I was just, the way I look at it is I was raising my hand to volunteer,
Right.
And in prior elections, you didn't see a lot of people running for office, which is still, frankly, really true today as well. It's time-consuming. And sometimes challenging, depending on what's going on in the world. But I lost that election and didn't lose a second of sleep, by the way.
I was going to say, being on the school board is kind of like a thankless job, too. I'm sure you probably get more complaints than you do people that are happy with decisions made, right?
Yeah, in some cases that is true. We're fortunate, District 128, which is Libertyville and Vernon Hills High School, historically has always had really strong boards, and they know what they're doing. So again, I was just raising my hand to volunteer. I didn't win. Fine by me. I just went about my business.
Sure.
And then the mayor, made a call into me, and I knew her from church at St. Joe's, and her mom and dad live around the corner, or they're both passed now, unfortunately, but they lived around the corner, so I would see them at church and see them in the neighborhood, and Donna knew who I was and knew that I was very involved. So she made the call, and I accepted, and I really accepted. I'm a curious person. I like to learn, and I thought, well, it's flattering, right, when somebody calls you and asks you to do that.
Because that's an important position.
It can be, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of responsibility there.
For sure.
Again, Libertyville, much like the district, historically, really well run.
Mm-hmm.
So I was coming into something very stable, which is a huge advantage.
Big time.
Yeah.
How many trustees are there?
There's 6.
Okay. And you guys make important decisions.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on right now with development is a big topic in the village. We're landlocked, there's no land, so you're just tearing stuff down. And what's happening in the village is it's a demographic thing. A lot of property owners are, nearing and or at or beyond retirement age, and a lot of their children, if it's for example, if it's a business that runs properties, has a lot of retailers in it or something like that, the new owners, the children that inherited it, mm-hmm. That's not their business,
right?
So they're now in retirement age, and they're ready to sell, or contemplating it, and so there's a turnover that's currently happening. And from what I can tell, it's going to accelerate over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. And so that brings with it a lot of decisions to make.
Absolutely.
You talk about density, you talk about height. The economics are very, very difficult for developers. Interest rates, construction costs, material costs, supply chain, all that kind of stuff has a huge impact. So, price of the property, a lot of these places in Libertyville, these pieces of property are not cheap. I mean,
they assume they're super valuable.
They're valuable pieces of property. So, you tack that on, and it's a tough thing to develop, but it's going to happen. And then on sort of the other side of the coin is, and this is where it gets a little tricky as a trustee and navigating the waters and really listening to the residents of the town, is frankly, and this is nationwide, this is not unique to Libertyville, but there's a lot of NIMBY going on, not in my backyard. So as development happens, as a trustee, we're on the receiving end of a lot of opinions.
Sure.
And
it's a very nice way to say it too, there, Jimmy.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot going on,
right.
and you have to weigh these things out because I'll give you an example. There's some prime property that is for sale in the downtown area. You got the theater building, which is a whole topic unto itself. But you've got other areas, and all the business owners. I'm not as much since I started my new job at the college, but very active in the business community and with our Economic Development Commission. Brian Grano sits on that commission. John Cortese, who owns Sunset Foods, Dan Marks, who owns Lincoln. So we got some really great people on that commission. And ever since I got on board, I plugged into those meetings, and you'll hear those business owners say, we need a denser population in the downtown area to support all of the businesses, the retailers, and the restaurants that we have here.
Absolutely.
So it's a tricky thing. You got people saying, not in my backyard. And then you've got the business community saying we need more people. And then you've got, frankly, property rights. I own the property. I'm, you know, I can sell it, you know, and developers can buy it. And as long as they're within the guidelines and stuff, they can build.
Right.
And they're gonna.
They're going to, yeah. Wow. That sounds like a very intense job to be over there to like hear everybody's opinion at the same time too.
It's fun though. I mean, for me, going back to being curious, I find it quite rewarding. You know, my decisions, my votes don't always land where people want me to land, but I have my reasons for it. I always welcome people to call and email, and really I ask them to call me. So we can talk it over, you know, and I that's a lot better than email. But,
then it can be a discussion.
Yeah, then it's a discussion. It's a two-way street. But it's really interesting. I came in green. I didn't know anything about this stuff, Dave, and I've learned a lot.
Sounds like it.
And it's rewarding from that perspective, and of course giving back.
Right.
There's a lot of people that don't want that gig, and it's not they pay you a stipend. So it's like $5,000 a year.
Right.
The mayor, I think, is $15,000. So people aren't doing this for the money.
Right. Right.
You know, it's a give back.
And every town needs more volunteers. And, you know, the people that volunteer and put their necks on the line to make important decisions usually get the most flack when you're trying to do good. But everybody's opinion, obviously, is probably all over the place for sure.
Yeah, no good deed goes unpunished.
That's right.
Comes to mind.
Hey, I'm dealing with that every day of my life. That's
I bet
for
you
sure.
are.
But it's fun that way. But you have
It's
to do
just
something.
a podcast, man.
That's right. Hey, but I'm discriminating against everybody, or somebody's on or somebody's not. But the wonderful thing about Libertyville is, like, as you talk about these businesses, is that I think when we get out in the suburbs here, that especially like downtown Libertyville is so unique, especially to anybody that's lived in the city. Like, you come out, it has such flavor, everywhere you go from one store to the next block, that there's so much to do. And it seems like downtown Libertyville is locally, everybody supports locally, but it's also kind of a destination for people traveling around, you know, other places. So it's a cool thing to see.
It is, and really that's a testament to people, you know, 20, 30 years ago, when the people who were really on the founding board of Main Street Libertyville, those individuals had a profound impact on our town. You know, we're lucky and fortunate that 21 rolls right through the middle of our town. So that's that's just the way it is, right?
Right.
But all of the things that you just said are very true, and it sincerely is a testament to the M.J. Seilers of the world. I think it's Dan Mayworm who started, forgive me if I got his name wrong, but there's some really giants that were thinking ahead, that were planning. I'm sure they had a number of debates.
I bet.
But boy, did they get it right. And that makes, as a trustee, I mean, you talk about a running start, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, all thanks to some visionaries down the road that could foresee what it could be.
Absolutely.
And then have it come to fruition at the same time.
And it's part of what is part of the equation for some of the decisions on the development that we're making now. And it's a tough thing, because, you know, a lot of people will say, you don't want to change the makeup, but people can sell their property. Developers can come in. Yes, we have a little bit of a dial, if you will, that we can, you know, encourage by ordinances and different things like that. And they're all there. But evolving can be a tough business.
Absolutely. And people don't like change all the time. But there's only so much you can do to do that. But we never know if change is going to be for the good or for the worse. So you never know.
Yeah.
But it's such a diverse area, and how many of these businesses, the thing I really like is to see how many businesses have been there for so long. I think it's a testament to the community, to see how people, for the most part, from what I know, that most people play nice. Like, there's so many restaurants, there's so many bars, that it seems like they know that there's enough to go around.
Yeah, I think by and large that is very true. It's a pretty tight-knit community. You peel the onion and see some it's healthy competition,
right?
But it's competitive nonetheless.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great community, and not everything works, and that's just market forces.
Amen.
You hate to see somebody come in, invest, and then peter out, but that's just the market, and that's the way it is. But when they do come in, the beautiful thing to see is the support that they get through, I hope and think, the Village, number one. Main Street Libertyville is a phenomenal organization, all volunteer. It's an incredible thing. So the support's there.
Right.
The business model and offerings have to be there too.
Right. Now, how long have you lived in Libertyville?
Since I think we moved. I'm terrible with time, Dave. 08,
me too.
08, 09.
Oh wow, so a long time.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so then where did you give me a little bit of your background? Like, where did you grow up? What were your?
I'm a ZB.
You're a
I'm
ZB.
a ZB. I grew up in Zion. Very proud of that. My brother still lives up there in the house that I grew up in.
Nice.
Youngest of 6. My sister is a teacher at Oak Grove. Retired. Taught at Oak Grove for years. I have a brother who teaches high school in Barrington. Mm-hmm. Another sister out in Richmond, Virginia. One of my brothers unfortunately passed away from a heart attack. And then my brother's up in Zion, living in the house that we grew up in. My mom passed away last year. Married, have 3 children. And, kind of Lake County, born and bred. Left back in the 90s, moved to the city. I love the arts, I love music, and I wanted to be around that. Yeah. And so I moved to the city. That's where I met my wife. She's from Texas.
That's a nice move.
And yeah, it worked out. It worked out.
Yeah, and then back to.
And then after we bought a house in, so we lived all over the city. We started in Lakeview, where a lot of people start.
Right.
We went to Ravenswood, then we went to Edgewater. And then we bought a house in Mayfair, which is, some people might think it's like Jefferson Park. Mm-hmm. We lived right across the street from the Irish American Heritage Center, which is kind of a funny story. You want me to tell you?
I'd love it. That's what we're here for.
So, okay. So my wife and I were living in a condo in Edgewater that's like, Devon, Broadway-ish. Mm-hmm. And we had our first daughter, Kathleen. And, it shrinks the place.
Absolutely.
So we were looking for a home, and I was on the northwest side driving around after work one day, and I drink a lot of coffee. And I was like, it's Chicago. The traffic is nuts, and you got to take care of business, go to the bathroom. I was like looking for a bathroom. So I'm like, wait. The Irish Center, I could just pull right in the parking lot, run in, and I knew it would be open. So I did exactly that. I parked, ran in there. I know a few people there, so I said hi to Connor, and because we had our wedding reception there.
Oh, nice.
And I'm walking out a little bit more relaxed than walking in, and I had a lot of coffee that day. So I'm walking out, and I look across the street, and there's a for sale sign on this bungalow. And I was like, there it is. So we called the realtor, got it done, and moved in across from the place where we had our wedding reception. So it was meant to be.
It's meant to be.
Just based on too much coffee.
I just talk about thin threads and how things happen in your life, and yours is all about coffee. So that's awesome. What a great way to find a place. Yeah. That's great. How long did you guys live there?
We were there for about 5 years or so, and then our third daughter came along, and we just started, thinking a lot more about schools. And there was a great parish, St. Ed's, where a lot of kids were going to school, and I had just started a job, 100% commission with Northwestern Mutual, and so I wasn't really in a position to send my kids to private school.
Right.
And long story short, a couple years went by, and we decided to sell, and it was right around the 08, 09 mess.
Yeah.
And we sold in time, and I called my mother and said, Mom, don't be alarmed, but would it be okay if we sold the place here? Because I don't want to do any of this contingency stuff.
Right.
The market's sliding, which could be favorable as a buyer.
Absolutely.
So we sold our place, moved in with my mother in Zion, and then found the place in Libertyville and got it done pretty quickly so we could get Kathleen into the schools. And the other girls were,
Wow.
preschool age at that time.
Oh. It's funny how we move around and
Yeah.
then where you land and then where you find community and how that goes. So
Exactly.
so then all of the kids have gone through the Libertyville school system.
Yeah, we have one who's a junior at LHS.
Oh, okay.
So we got one more to go.
One more to go, and then the others at college now.
One graduated from UIC in May, and she still lives in the city, and she's working but applying for some different jobs. She's applied at a couple law firms and stuff like that. She's not an attorney, but support staff kind of positions and communication type positions. And then the other one is at ISU. She's a junior, and she's doing the nursing stuff.
Nice.
She worked at Connell. She went to CLC. We have a rule in our house, Dave.
Oh gosh, let me hear.
You go to CLC for at least 1 year, if not 2.
My kid's at CLC right now. Believe me, and that's exactly where he belongs.
Yep.
I won't say anything on the air why, but I think everybody can imagine that as a child, their first year at college.
Well, some of the benefits were, and I didn't really realize this at the time. It was basically economics certainly are part of it, but also giving them a little bit of time, for us anyway. We felt it was important to give them a little time to grow and kind of not prove themselves. That's not the right phrase, but stay local, let things gel a little bit, and then move along.
Right.
So that's our rule.
Okay, and you work at CLC.
I do, yeah. I took a job there in October of last year. I've been an adjunct teaching a class called Social Media and Business. So it's kind of, I obviously do a lot of social media focus, but digital media in general.
Okay.
And I've done that for, I think this is my 8th year. We're in class now.
Oh, wow.
So I got a full house. We had 3 kids on the waiting list, which was awesome this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Probably because they heard who the teacher is. They're just lining up out the door.
I think they heard I brought treats to all the classes.
That could be it.
Pizza,
I may sign up.
cookies.
So the creative side is obviously other things you've done. So before we got on, we talked about. So is it Craftsman Media is a business that you have?
Craftsman Media is now shut down as of October.
Okay.
But yeah, it would have been. It was basically 8.5 years of that.
Wow.
Which was a lot of fun, and you know how it is being a business owner. Very creative work. I had great clients. My business model worked for me. They paid me a retainer, and I became their digital marketing guy.
Wow.
So I just stacked up, a number of those clients and made a good living, and also made some wonderful friends as well.
Did you have a lot of Libertyville clients?
I that was kind of spotty. Pizzeria DeVille was a client of mine. When I got early in, I was doing some restaurants, but it's a tough fit for the model that I had. Mm-hmm. And restaurants are also challenging because really to do social media well in restaurants, my contention is you got to be there. You really need somebody on the staff, the owner. I always use Dimitri at the Shanty.
Yep.
Dimitri's a friend, and he's just like I don't know anybody that works harder than Dimitri, but he does all their social media because he's there all the time. He's taking pictures of food. He knows what's going on.
Right.
He can react fast. So my clients tended to be businesses with, say, 20, 30, 40 employees, but culturally, they were never going to go out and hire a digital media person.
Right.
It wasn't in the cards. So I came along and said, okay, here's the pros and the cons. Pros are I'm easy to hire and I'm easy to get rid of too.
Right.
I do handshake deal. I didn't even do contracts because I'm getting old, and it's kind of like the no asshole rule.
Right. And if it doesn't fit, either one of us can walk.
Yeah. It's absolutely. So I did that, and I had a manufacturer. I did some stuff for Tom Zangler, who's just another great dude. I had a Freightliner dealership for a small period of time. A friend of mine owns that, and we got him. Basically said, can you come in for like a year, roughly, create a baseline for us, and I'm going to hire somebody on the inside. So we did that. There was kind of a variety of different. I didn't have like one industry or anything.
Right. I think that would get boring, though.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah. And how do you vary it? You're competing with yourself at the same time if you're in the same industry. Like,
right.
I'm going to do the same stuff I did for him? No, you have to make it. You have to vary it up.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So it was a good run. People treated me really, really well. I was super fortunate to have the client list that I did. But it was time to make a change. And, I was telling my wife probably a year or so prior to me making the move, I had expressed to her that I wanted to change, and she automatically said, why don't you go get a job here, there, why don't you go to Abbott? And I'm like, Abbott, they wouldn't hire me. I don't have any, what can I do for them? I don't know. And I don't know, a big corporation is a good fit for me. So what I shared with her was, this is all about fit. I'm much more, and it sounds maybe a little fluffy, but it's true. I'm much more of a mission-driven person than a money-driven person. I mean, we need money. I like money. It's what makes the wheels go round. But fit was really, really important. And a friend of mine who I knew not super well, but I really respected her from afar, knowing what I knew about the college, doing the adjunct thing. She posted something on LinkedIn, and it just stopped me in my tracks. And I investigated it, and then I called a friend of mine who's been a long time full-timer there. Mm-hmm. I said, hey, how does this check out? And she said, this has got your name on it.
Really?
If the salary's anywhere close to where it needs to be, Jim, do it.
Okay.
Because it's a great culture. You already love the school. That's a given. This is right in your wheelhouse. The way I explain it to people, Dave, is, and this is a generalization, but 85% of the school is academics, training, degrees, certificates, going to class. Everybody knows what the college does. The other 15% is what I call community facing, sort of the business side of the school. So a couple of the areas that I work with is we sell training to corporations.
Oh.
So we, hypothetically, we could work with the Abbott and AbbVies and do project management training, for example. So we have a lot of big businesses and small businesses basically hire us to, do those trainings and classes and things like that. So that's one piece of that. We have the urban farm that I'm really excited about that we're building in downtown Waukegan. That's an area that I'm involved with. We have personal enrichment and professional development. So when you get the catalog at home and it says, you want to take an art class or a glass blowing or what have you, that's part of what's under my umbrella. And then we have a long-standing relationship with the courts. So we call it judicial services. So if you get too many tickets or get a little bit of trouble and the judge says, hey, you need to take this class or these courses to fulfill part of your, penalty or whatever you want to say, we offer those classes. And that's been a long-term relationship where we have our Lakeshore campus downtown Waukegan, so right across the street.
Works well.
That's part of what's under my umbrella as well, among other things too. But
wow, sounds like an interesting thing, though.
It's cool, man. It's a variety. It was kind of what I was looking for. Community was what I was looking for, and really, using the I could use any of the examples, but The urban farm is really a hot topic right now at the school, and it's got a lot of meaning. You know, we were going to grow produce hydroponically. We'll have a greenhouse there. We'll have a mushroom room. We'll have a kitchen for entrepreneurs to try and launch businesses. Of course,
cool.
Classroom.
Right.
So it's kind of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about some more of your other creative stuff that I read about and then we spoke about a little bit. Is the other Craftsman project that you're doing, because you're big into music. Right?
Yes. Craftsman Cafe.
Craftsman Cafe. Explain that to everybody that they don't know about it,
okay.
because I find it fascinating.
Well, thank you. You're a fellow creative, so
right.
And music guy. How many years DJ?
Oh my God, I think it's 29 now.
Wow.
29.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of maybe people listening to this, we probably DJ'd their weddings.
Yeah.
Yeah. After all this time. Yeah, that's
awesome.
crazy. Yeah, so music's fun. So that's one of your passions as well.
Yeah, I'm not a musician. A lot of people think I play. I'm just a music junkie. I can tell you, who played drums on side 2 of Steely Dan's Asia album. Just kind of useless information, but
right.
fun. I read a lot of books about music. I love painters and, artists in general, performance artists. I just love it. It's always been a passion of mine. It's always been a hobby. I've seen a lot of shows over the years. I love comedy. So Craftsman Cafe started in our living room. It was actually my birthday.
Okay.
I didn't tell anybody, though. My wife was the only one who knew. It was February 11th, back, 13, 14 years ago. I love connecting people, especially musicians, and we had a house concert. And I put together a number of musicians. Some they knew each other, some didn't. And that was part of the whole objective, was to
right.
bring people together, not only as an audience but as a band. And so Lori and I did that. And being a marketing guy, I was like, I need a logo. So I came up with a logo, and I gotta need a name. So I called it Craftsman Cafe because I like the word craftsman. I think craftsman applies to artists. In many ways, songwriters, painters, things like that. And I wanted to do things a little different than what the norm is. The norm is, you email an Evite and say, come on over to the house. So I came up with a little bit of a storyline, had my logo, had the title, and then at the bottom, I stole this from, are you familiar with the Artist Den?
I know the name. That's about it.
Yeah, this guy out in San Francisco, I think he was a former investment banker or something. He started the Artist Den, and he would take unique artists and match them with a unique place. So, for example, Ray LaMontagne played this old barn in Texas.
So cool.
Patty Griffin played this beautiful synagogue in New York City. And what they would do is the shows are free, and then they would pass the hat and give the money to a charity. So I was like, there you go.
Right.
So we did that. And one of the guests, my friends Tony and Nancy, they said, we want to do a show at our house. And Tony said, I want to use your whole template. I said, great. Okay, I'll run the thing for you.
Right.
And then he introduced me to some of his friends that are musicians, and we put together a different band. So we did his house show. Then another person said, we want to do it. So we've probably done 25, 26 shows. Some of them got bigger. We've done warehouse shows where we bring in sound lights, the whole 9 yards. I think the biggest show we had was 350 people. We still do the paper invites in the mail. We've gotten a little bit more production value, is a little bit better. We still do house shows. We're doing a house show in Wadsworth in March because that's kind of our roots and it's fun.
So cool.
Great way to throw a party and do it with meaning. We always give to charity. It's always a voluntary donation. We don't care. You want to put $10 in, fine. You want to put 1,000, fine.
That's
and
awesome.
People are super generous.
Wow.
Super generous.
That's cool. And so you're putting the musicians together. Is it always the same musicians, or are you just hooking up different people?
Well, my goal, Dave, has always been there's got to be one musician who hasn't been on the stage yet. So I could have the same band, but for example, we had kind of our core musicians, play, and I said, you know what, we need a horn section. So I called a friend of mine, and she knew these two guys from school, and boom, we got a horn section.
That's awesome.
And, you know, I've done all kinds of stuff. I had a tap dancer open up a show once. You know, I put out an email to some friends, and I said, anybody know anybody that's like a true tap dancer? And they said, yeah. So Danielle came, and we did a opening act of tap dancer. I had a gospel, some people from Chicago come and do some stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
Me and you cannot hang out because we probably have the weirdest event that you've ever seen in your whole life. But it would be fun for us. And hopefully people would like it.
I felt like, you know, the reaction I've always seen is if it's something different. We were talking about this offline.
Absolutely.
You know, the thing you're doing with the bachelors and giving back in a creative way. I think, the event business is back. You know,
Thank God.
Having gone through COVID and everything, people are really looking for, and they have been, but I think more than ever, they're looking for a unique experience.
Yes.
You know, something that it's like, this kind of reminds me of this, but it's a little different in this way.
Right.
That's what I'm always shooting for. And obviously the community aspect is a huge part of it too.
Yeah. Anytime you can do something creative and different and bring community together that may hang out and do the same thing all the time, people love it. And if it helps people in need at the same time, just the philanthropy of that, of giving back. But make it so it's not work. It's all fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the key.
Aspect. Yes.
Especially when for me, it's a hobby.
Yes.
You know, I don't get paid to do this stuff. It costs me a lot of money, actually. I mean, I'm not. I don't say that as a complaint.
No.
But I mean, I do it because I love doing it.
You love it,
you know?
right.
And if it costs me a few dollars to produce something, you know, that's money well spent. I don't golf.
Right. Well, you
know,
get to have
I don't
a really
travel
fun
a lot,
hobby.
you know.
Maybe you should probably change that, though.
Yeah. Well, it's just, you know, everybody's got their own hobby. I love traveling, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but, you know, with the kids and everything, we stay close to home, so I got a few extra bucks in my pocket. I'll do an event.
Yeah.
You know, why not?
That's great. And the musicians have got to love that too. I mean, talk about an experience for the crowd, an experience for the performers, and you get to sit back and smile and feed your creative passions and your musical passions, and it works for everybody.
It really does. And none of this would happen without the generosity of, number one, our guests, but also the musicians. I mean, a lot of people think that the musicians are paid.
And they're not.
And they're not paid. They do it for fun and to give back and to, you know, it's their way of expressing and being creative.
Right.
It's been a real, I mean, I can't stress this enough. It's been a complete blessing in my life as well as a lot of other people's lives.
That's awesome. So somebody in Libertyville that's listening right now that wants one of these parties, how they're like, oh my God, this is awesome. I want to do this. Do they just get a hold of you?
They just get a hold of me. I will confess I'm not necessarily searching for lining things up.
I'm throwing them under the bus bad right now.
No. It's actually a great question. Somebody asked me this yesterday. A good buddy of mine said, what are you doing? And we have a show coming up in March. We have a big one coming up in August in Kenosha. So we haven't really... We did a gig in Kenosha for a friend of mine who was suffering from cancer. The testament to him. He's suffering from cancer, and he says, Jimmy, I want to do a gig where we support people that are going through cancer. Wow. And I don't want this to be about me. I want this to be about them. And really, if I can be so bold to, in a sense, what he was saying was, this is part of my healing process, right. Which is a beautiful thing. So we did that in December as a big blowout in Kenosha, and we're going to do another one in August. So I've got a lot lined up already. We're doing an event just this Wednesday, which will be, I don't know when this is going to air, but February 7th, an event at the boardroom in Libertyville to talk about the urban farm. So I marry a lot of my
I love it.
Work, play.
You could put them all together.
It all comes together, man.
I love it. All right, so we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to do something we call the Libertyville Hot Seat.
Ooh.
Yes, so a couple rapid fire questions. We're going to get to know Jimmy Connell just a little bit better.
Welcome to the Libertyville Hot Seat. The Hot Seat today is brought to you by our friends at Mickey Finn's Brewery. And by the way, if you haven't listened to Brian Grano's podcast, get over there and listen to it right away. So once again, thank you to Mickey Finn's for sponsoring the Libertyville Hot Seat.
So we do a lot of these same questions. I have a list of probably 50 on here, but I have some favorites, and we're just going to go through, and I'll just randomly go, and we'll see what happens. Okay, the Libertyville Hot Seat. Hey, bartender, can I have a...
Beer.
What kind of beer do you drink?
I just like a good lager,
Santa's
man.
Magic.
A Pilsner. You know, I'm done with the heavy stuff.
Right. Amen. Yeah, I have to do it light.
And there's a lot to choose. You brought up Finn's. There's a lot to choose from there. And I love Tighthead, too.
Oh,
Tighthead's a great brewery.
So we're going out for drinks after. If you had to have a superpower, what would it be?
If I had to have one, gosh, that's a tough one, Dave. First word that comes to mind, I think everybody's superpower should be, is empathy.
It shouldn't be a superpower, but not everybody has it.
Right.
Not everybody has it. So tell me a place you'd like to travel that you have not been.
I'd like to go to Paris. I haven't been to Paris, and Paris is just an artist's dream. So I'm going to take Lori to Paris at some point. But yeah, that's what first one comes to mind.
And Larry, that's recorded right now, so that's evidence he's taking you to Paris. What was your first car you ever had?
First car was a 77 Cutlass Supreme.
Awesome. Is that a boat?
It was two-door. It was pretty long, back in those days. No, it was an 81. It was an 81 Cutlass Supreme. That's what it was. Yeah, 81.
Would the 12-year-old version of yourself think you're cool?
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah, that's it. But we all hope so. I had one woman who told me that their 12-year-old version is like, 12-year-olds don't like anything. They don't think anybody's cool.
Oh,
old people aren't cool. I was like, well, that's, because we're old to a 12-year-old, right?
Well, I know this is rapid fire, but I'm going to slow you down. When I think of that question, this is a great question. It's a fun question because I immediately think I haven't changed. I'm still doing the same thing I did.
I'm still 12 years old.
I'm like reading books about, Robert Plant and Jimmy Page and David Bowie and, Picasso and all that stuff. That's what I did when I was 12. I'm still doing that.
I love it. Just tried and true. Do you have a nickname?
Well, Jimmy's not a nickname. My dad used to call me Seamus. Being Irish, Scottish, his mom and dad. My grandma and grandpa came over from Scotland right off the boat, and he called me Seamus because that's Gaelic for James.
Nice. What do you wish you learned sooner?
I wish I had learned sooner how important your 20s are. I read a great book, and it's a book I've gifted to a lot of people over the years, and as parents, I thought it was a wonderful book because it really kind of summed up part of what I struggled with. Your 20s are really critical. This author who's a doctor, psychologist, her name is Dr. Meg Jay, J-A-Y. She's got a couple TED Talks that are great. And the thrust of the whole book, it's called, oh my God, brain freeze.
I hate that. Only when you have to think of it.
It's called A Defining Decade.
Okay.
And it was all about how important your 20s are. You got to have fun, but you also got to focus because it's going to lay the foundation. And this is a podcast for another day, but I was off the path for a good portion of my teen years and into my 20s. Mm-hmm. And from a career perspective, from an economic perspective, I paid a price for that. That's life. I'm not complaining. I'm happy. Right. All that stuff. I'm fortunate. But
you learned a lot from it.
I learned a lot from it.
Right. So it wasn't a total waste then.
No.
All right, I'm going to read that, by the way. Actually, I'm going to gift that to my 19-year-old.
There you go.
I think that would be a good thing.
There you go.
So what was the name of your first pet?
Shane
Shane. And then what was the name of the street you grew up on?
Elisha.
So your adult film star name is Shane Elisha. See? And you thought you were taking nothing home valuable with you today. This is a serious show, man. Have you ever, and we'll keep with the serious stuff, have you ever ate a roller dog from a gas station?
No.
Man, you haven't lived. What are you doing?
No, those things are just repulsing, man.
Actually,
it's
the
like
question should
repulsive.
be, how long do you think they're on the roller? That's what I want to know. Do they let them on until they shrivel up and fall through the crack? Yes, but I'm going to buy one for my house, I think. Your middle name?
Andrew.
Have you ever broken a bone?
No.
If you had to have a theme party at your house, what would it be?
I'm gonna go with Bowie. Just
super fun.
Glitter, you know. Yeah, I just love Bowie. He changed all the time, so that's one of the things I loved about him.
Absolutely. Did you play a sport in high school?
Baseball.
Baseball.
Yep.
No wonder you and I get along. What is your favorite Libertyville event to attend?
There's a lot of good events, Dave. I think Libertyville Days is always fun because it just brings so many people out. And the first night of Libertyville Days is where a lot of Libertyville people come. Right. You know, they may not come back on Saturday and Sunday, but it's usually just a hoot. You know, there's a band. You know, most cases I know who they are, right. And it's always just it's a great time. It's kind of that Americana feel. So
it really is.
I love Libertyville Days.
Yeah, those are the things you go and I think you take it for granted after a while. But you go to something
sure.
that you should just sit back and just really be mindful and just take it all in.
Yeah.
Because it's just because that stuff doesn't happen. And not every community has an event like that where it's that cool.
Yeah, true.
When you eat tacos, do you tilt your head to the right or the left?
I'd say right.
There he goes. He moves his head right. To the right. You're right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Wow. Well, you're strange then. Most people go the other way. Usually I know the
Not
answer.
the first time I've been told that, Dave. Thank you.
I'm certain of that. What's your favorite vacation you've ever been on?
Ooh, I'll say Spain. We went to the south of Spain. It is special for a couple reasons. One is good friends of ours who are a couple, mm-hmm. Dan and Karen. We both grew up together. Or I grew up with Karen and Dan, and they ended up getting married. And they're super generous people and just kind. And there were 8 people in Dan's family, 6 in my family, and all of us kind of grew up together. All the siblings knew each other, hung out. So when we got married, they said, "Hey, we want to send you somewhere for your honeymoon." It's the kind of people they are. They're just super generous.
Wow.
and they're just beautiful.
Wow.
And so they said, pick anywhere you want to go, and we went to Spain. But at that time, we had already planned on going to Victoria, British Columbia, for our honeymoon. And we had a lot of the arrangements and probably the tickets lined up. And Danny said, "You're still going to go to Spain." And I said, "Okay, here's the deal. We're not going unless you're going with us." So the 4 of us went to the south of Spain and
awesome.
Together, and it was just magical.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, he didn't know he was getting into. That's
yeah.
great. What a great gift for both of you at the same time. Have you ever won an award?
I mean, we won Little League championships and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. I think it's a fun question because then usually when we get off the thing, you're like, oh, man, I did win an award. I won an award for something. All right. Tell me about the second time you got arrested.
Oh, geez.
It's a trap, Jimmy. You're not supposed to have the answer.
Oh, the second time?
Yeah, the second time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking I don't know that I've really been arrested per se. I've been pulled over, but
okay. I forget you're a trustee. We'll figure that answer out later.
Edit this thing out, will you?
Sure. Record scratch. And here's a really important one. Speaking of community and especially your job, so how many days in a row can you wear the same pair of jeans without washing them?
Oh, I'll say 4.
4.
Yeah.
Once they start to get loose in the waist,
Yeah.
then it's time to...
Yeah, you got to tighten them up a little bit, yeah.
Like, it depends what you're doing in them also.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
at the same time.
Good point.
What do you put on your pizza?
Sausage and or pepperoni.
All right. What's the last thing you bought on Amazon?
I bought some easels.
Easels.
Today.
See? And everybody said, I was trying to think of what I just bought. Okay, so if you had to write a book about something, what would you write it about?
Oh, that's funny. So
I thought for sure you're going to say you're in the process of writing a book.
No.
Okay.
No. So you want to hear what I would write?
I would love it.
Yeah, that's a fun question, Dave. So we did a book event back in October at Craftsman Cafe. This guy, he's a writer. He's a phenomenal writer, Mark Garino. He wrote a book. It's called Country and Midwestern, and it's all about the country scene in Chicago before Nashville was Nashville. So I'll leave it at that. It's
interesting.
It's a big book.
Yeah.
So he came and did a book signing and did an interview and all that stuff. It's on our YouTube page, Craftsman Cafe YouTube channel. But I told him at the time, I'm obsessed with music, and I've had this obsession with 3 singers. They're background singers, and they showed up on every single song that we grew up with.
Really?
I mean, Linda Ronstadt to Rod Stewart to, off-the-wall stuff, Pink Floyd, all kinds of stuff. It's Clyde King, Shirley Matthews, and Vanetta Fields. They were known as the Blackberries, and they played with Steve Marriott and Humble Pie. Yeah. So they sang with him for a little while. But they've played on everything, Dylan. And I've often thought, kind of like that, 10 feet from stardom or whatever it's called. I think somebody should write a book about those 3 women because you hear them probably every day if you're listening to, the music I grew up with. And nobody knows who they are. Very few people know who they are.
I bet they have stories for days.
They have stories, and unfortunately, I think only Shirley Matthews is alive and living in Australia or something. But if I could do a documentary and I won the lottery, I'd hire you, and we'd go looking for these stories, and I'd do a book.
Buy some tickets on the way home, my friend. for sure. That would be really cool.
I would just love the journey of it. It's not so much the end product. I would just love the journey. I want to sit across from these people and go, tell me about Clyde.
Would that be awesome?
I think it'd be really fun.
Wow.
So
that's really cool. Well, thanks for playing.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny that every time that we do like the hot seat questions, you get to learn more about people and maybe a story they don't think of or like.
Oh, dude, you
got it. Sometimes you should see the ones I don't tell.
Yeah,
and there's some bad ones. There's some off-color ones as well. But knowing your position as well, you stay away from some.
You got me on the arrest thing,
right? And some people jump at it, and some people think like
second time.
No one asked me because I would tell them the second. Wait, that's the second time? I think that's the second time.
That's classic.
Okay, so what does the future hold for you? Do you have any big plans? Any more creative projects that you're like really looking at?
I want to do, we're kind of known at Craftsman Cafe, we've done a lot of concerts. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that, for me personally, I want to branch out and do more creative. We've done a chef event. We did a book signing. I'd like to do more book stuff. We did a college conference for high school teens probably about 5 years ago. Joy Bach and I kind of pulled that together, and that was a lot of fun. And it's kind of outside that whole concert realm. I've done some photography projects with a good friend of mine, Scott Singer, who's a super talented. He's a software engineer by trade, but he's a really good photographer, hobbyist. So I put him to work with my concepts, with photography, photo shoots. I want to do more of that kind of stuff. And if we do music, I want to branch out a little bit. I've been thinking about doing a jazz show. I've been thinking of doing a prog rock show, which is not an easy one because, getting musicians to woodshed, Genesis and Yes and some of that, Crimson stuff, King Crimson, that's not easy music to play. So it's just a time thing,
Right.
You got to get the right players who are interested in it, and then you need to find the time, which we don't have a lot of, right?
That's the one thing that I don't have budgeted for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, there's only so much real estate, so to say, for there.
Absolutely.
And what you want to do.
So I have a lot of plans for Craftsman Cafe, and it just, can't do them overnight. But we have every intention of keeping at it and trying stuff and trying to give back in creative ways.
Mm-hmm. I also want to tell everybody that one of the things that brought us together, besides people throwing your name out for people I should interview from Libertyville, that you saw what I was doing, but your concept that you had, and you were doing interviews with a lot of local people, and you have those on your YouTube page.
Yes.
That I would encourage people to go check out, because I'm going to go home and because I didn't.
Well, that's nice of you. You're going to look at some of them. They're a little dated, you might say.
That's okay.
But I have a good friend, George, who loves video and editing and things, and he and I, it's been sort of our passion, and we've interviewed business owners, politicians before I even ran, and we interviewed Terry Wepler, for example, when he was running for office. And it's really just designed to give back and inform,
right.
Put a face behind the name, a voice behind the name, a story behind the name. So appreciate the shout out on our YouTube video.
No, but it's interesting because the concept is right along what I've always wanted to do, because I think we have a lot of people that we approach, and some people are like, well, I don't really have a story. And I say,
oh, yes, you do.
Oh, everybody's got a story. Just because you know it doesn't make it interesting to you. But by unveiling some things behind, talking to people and stuff I never knew. I thought you think you know people, and you start asking them questions. And especially in this kind of situation where they know they're being recorded, some people get nervous.
Yeah,
and you never know what they're going to say as well. But I think it's a good way to bring it to the community as well. Absolutely.
I love what you're doing, Dave. I think you're doing, you're doing a public service. You've obviously have always in your mind how to give back, not only in a sort of a media way, if you will, for lack of a better way of saying it, but also from a true giving perspective. Some of the projects that you're working on that are actually helping people pay bills and stuff like that is enormously needed and very, very cool, and you don't have to do that. So kudos to you. And then as it relates to the podcast, when I saw this thing pop up, I was like, there we go. So I'll help you in any way I can.
Thank you.
I think it's just a terrific thing that you're doing.
Thank you. You know what? This talk about wishing you had more time, because you see all these people in need, and as we know that anybody comes to your business or people that are trying to run fundraisers or trying to raise money for people for good causes, I know people get bombarded, especially businesses all the time get bombarded with every charity, everything.
Yes, they do.
But I think that they need to know the value that there's so many people that want to do good, and don't discourage them. Throw them a bone of some sort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's just something little, a little goes a long way, and when we bring communities together, as a community, they make a huge difference in people's lives.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
Yeah, I enjoy doing that. Hopefully, do you want to know the name of my new business I want to start?
No.
Well,
I do.
No,
go ahead.
I'm trying to figure out the plan. Nobody steal this. If you guys steal this, and I've looked it up and I can't find it yet. Friends for Benefits. Right? Little tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
I think we may go backwards on the other one and
right.
say Benefits with Friends.
All right.
Because that'll work too. So if anybody steals, it's officially trademarked before Jim gets out of here. We're going to get online and trademark that.
I like it.
Yeah, but something fun. And I think more people need more fun in the community to bring people together.
Yeah.
So if we can find ways to do that, it's always wonderful.
If you're laughing and smiling, something's working, man.
Yes, and if you can make more than the majority smile at the same time, then everybody wins. Anything else we want to say as we wrap up about Libertyville? Tell me. Let's end with what I want to say, and then add anything that you'd like to interject. Tell me your favorite thing about the Libertyville community.
Libertyville community's got heart, man. They just have heart, I mean, and you saw it big time. And this is really throughout the country. But Libertyville's my backyard. It's my front yard. I love Libertyville. It's not a perfect place by any stretch. No community is. But I'll tell you what, when people get knocked around, the community comes out, and they come out big, and it's a supportive community. Business-wise, it's a great place to do business. It's just, small town America. It's a cool place, and it's got a lot of heart and a lot of soul. Sometimes you got to look for it. If you're looking for the bad, you can find that too. But I've always been a cup half full guy.
Me too.
And it's one of the reasons I became a trustee too. It's like, hey, we've got a lot to be proud of, but we also got a lot of work to do. So, you can hold both of those things in balance. I just don't let the negative get too hot. Right. Don't let the positive, when you think you're special, watch out. But
Amen.
I would say Libertyville's got a lot of heart.
Yeah, I agree with what you say too. I always tell my kids, if you go looking for trouble, you're always going to find it, no matter what you do in life. So it's just a mindset of being positive and being out there. So I really appreciate you. Anything else you want to mention before we? No,
I'm good. I just want to thank you. Thanks for doing what you're doing. Keep up the great work. Production quality on these. I've been listening to them. I've learned about some people. The photography gentleman that you had on was really intriguing. I thought that was a cool interview.
It was some fun.
The ladies, the teachers with the shirts.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. I'm going to order some shirts from them.
Awesome.
And that's what it's all about. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Connell. And wherever you're listening, whether you're on Spotify, or on Apple Music, whether you're on Amazon, YouTube, wherever, make sure to subscribe. Because that way, every Tuesday, you'll be able to find out a new person that comes on. And I encourage everybody, don't just listen to the people you know. Listen to the people that you may not know that are in the community, because we get to learn stuff about everybody. And the more we listen, the more we get together, we build more community, and everything just works. And I always end this way, too. Wherever you're at, whatever you're doing today, make sure to just do me a favor and do one random act of kindness. And I think that kindness spreads like wildfire. So a lot of times you don't know what people are going through, and you don't know what people are doing. So, maybe take 5 seconds to do something nice for somebody, and it changes the world. So thank you, Libertyville. Another episode of Discovering Libertyville, and we'll see you next Tuesday, everybody.